Schlapp and Nina Turner. It is good to have you both on the show. Thank you.
Great to be here.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, Matt Schlapp, do
Yes,
you
sir.
believe that God wants the law enforced this way on the border, separating families who cross undocumented, including asylum seekers?
I'm a Christian, but I believe in some humility on knowing exactly what God wants in these situations. I think we have a bad law that needs to be changed, and I think the law prevents the children and the adults who are breaking the law from being treated as a family unit, and I think it's more humane to treat them as a family unit, and I think Congress should pass something quickly to fix that.
What law, Nina Turner, is Matt Schlapp referring to that makes the government have to do it this way?
There is no law that makes the government have to do it this way. As you've been pointing out, Chris, this is a matter of public policy, policy and the will of the Trump administration. And let me just say to A.G. Sessions, we need to get him a "What Would Jesus Do" bracelet. Because seriously, Jesus would be on the side of the downtrodden. He would be on the side of the poor. And Matthew 7:12 is very clear. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It is the golden rule. And it is indefensible. They're using the Bible to defend the indefensible, to separate children from their parents, to further traumatize those families. And especially this latest about them separating a mother who was breastfeeding her baby is just really unconscionable. But what would Jesus do? I'm going to buy him the bracelet, Chris.
All right, you go ahead. Might be tax deductible. Matt Schlapp, the proof that it's not about the law is the law has stayed the same and the enforcement policy has changed. So they're making a decision. You say the remedy is change the law, streamline it, make it better. Okay, but I just had Jim Jordan on, and he represents a significant population in your party who say, no, we won't do just that. We'll only do everything at once. We will not deal with the emergency.
This is a tactical question, right? You have Democrats who basically held all legislation hostage to fixing the problem with DACA, right? And I think that's also a mistake. I think with immigration, the big problem, we have lots of problems with how our immigration laws are executed. And one of the problems is we have to always glom it all together. When we see problems and problems that both sides might see need to be fixed, I'm okay with taking them as rifle shots, unique fixes in legislation. So let me go back to why the law is what the law is. Basically, the law prevents the children from going through the legal process with their parents. So what we do to try to be humane, according to what our law says, is an unaccompanied minor goes through a system. But if you come with your parents, you have this fundamental question to ask. If a parent crosses the border illegally with their child, the child has to be put through a program. But the adult has still broken the law. Now, we can ask ourselves as a country, maybe we just give them a mulligan and let them come in. Maybe we say we're not going to handle these situations because they're tricky. The problem with that is you create the new set of DACA at the border every day, as Jim went through all the numbers with you, the thousands of families that come to the border. And the biggest problem with our immigration laws is we actually don't execute them fully, so that we always have this population of people, because we're good people, we're tolerant people, we know that people live... Well, we know that people
Maybe we were, because that's what catch and release was, right? Because it was more humane to allow the families to stay together and hope they show up for the legal process.
Let me just say, every time someone criticizes this country, I do get prickly, because we give more as a country. Our government gives more as a country for humanitarian reasons around this globe than any other country. As a people,
we also have a
as
border
a people,
practice.
we give more to charity.
Turner, to Matt's point,
we give more to charity to help these folks. We are very compassionate.
I hear you.
And
Matt, we both know you're no more of a patriot than I am, right?
That's
It's not about loving your country.
That's right.
It's about criticizing it when it is due. Nina,
that's right.
Most countries don't do what we're doing on our border right now. And I think it is a window into what the perception that this administration wants. And here's a little bit of proof of it, all right? David Shapiro, okay, he is a public official out in Arizona, and he was talking about what immigration means to the United States. Listen to this.
60% of public school children in the state of Arizona today are minorities. That complicates racial integration because there aren't enough white kids to go around. But when you look at that 60% number for our public school students, just carry that forward 10 years, 15 years, it's going to change the demographic voting base of this state. And that's what's going on around the country. Immigration is politically destabilizing. President Trump has talked about this. I'm very concerned about this. This immigration today represents an existential threat to the United States.
Now, Shapiro says he was taken out of context. I don't know how existential threat is taken out of context. But Nina, how do you take that soundbite?
I mean, it was clear that he is on the side of what President Trump is doing, and it's just wrong. I mean, see, we're talking about there's law, there's unjust laws. You know, St. Thomas Aquinas talked about just laws and unjust laws, but there's also humanity. And that is really what is being called into question here, our humanity as a nation. And it is really curious to me that the party of family values has no problem with separating families at the border. Let the process take place, but the President Donald J. Trump, has the power and the authority right now to stop separating these children from their parents until they go through the process. He could choose to do that, but he has decided to do the other, and it is absolutely wrong. So he's being a hypocrite. So are the Republicans that believe that this kind of stuff is okay. I want to hear family values come out of their mouths.
So are you saying that Barack Obama
I'm not saying this is not about President Obama. It's not about President Obama.
Let him make his point.
Are
What's your
you
point,
saying
Matt?
that Barack Obama kept these families intact through the adjudication process? Is that what you two are saying?
This is not about President Obama. This is about President Donald
separated
Trump.
the children
this
from
is
the
about
adults.
President Trump.
Because
so you
that's
know
what the
President
law
Trump
says.
President Trump can do a new thing. He
Not
doesn't have to
without
follow.
Congress.
He doesn't have to follow.
Well, also, hold on.
He
He's
doesn't
not
have
a
to sep-
king. You
but he
guys always
doesn't have-
remind us he's
he
not a
doesn't have
king.
to separate.
Hold on,
He doesn't have to
Matt,
separate.
hold on a second.
He does
there's
not have to
there's
separate.
There's a middle
those
ground
children.
here. First of all, just for fact's sake, okay? Did the Obama administration separate
Yes.
families? Yes. Did they do it as much as you are doing it right now? No.
What's your point?
The point is,
What does the law say you have to do, Chris?
It doesn't say you have
Yes,
to
it
do
does.
anything. Enforcement
does.
is up to you.
choosing
Catch
to
and
do it.
release
No.
is what. Look, this law was signed in 2008. It was signed by Bush. Okay, so it's not about Democrats putting a fast one through. It's how do you want to enforce it, and it's whether you want to take the risk that these people that come across undocumented will return for legal process.
That's right.
And so again, the facts are: did Obama do this? Yes. Did
Yes.
he do it as much? No.
He did.
Why? Because he had a different mentality, his administration, about
Yes.
what these people represent. My question to you is, you used to own that mentality. Reagan, Bush, as I just suggested, were much more open-hearted. But there seems to be
That's
a
not right.
new
No.
harshness, Matt Schlapp. Will you defend that?
No, Ronald Reagan, a president that I respect deeply, one of his biggest regrets was the 1986 immigration bill because he thought the amnesty that was a big part of the 1986 immigration reform would be one and done. We would cure this problem, we would accept these folks, and then we would now enforce our border, enforce our laws. And of course, we see even at the border today, they're not really enforced because what the two of you are advocating for.
I'm not advocating for
don't
anything.
tell-
Well, let me just talk here. You can tell me where I'm wrong. But what I'm hearing is you're saying don't separate the adult from the child, which means you don't adjudicate the adult. And what the
That's not
Trump
true.
administration is saying is that when you come here illegally, you will be prosecuted. And to do anything else than that is to simply not follow the law, which gets us into this amnesty
Except,
problem.
Nina, here's the obvious weakness to that argument. And you can now make the point, which is asylum seekers were never included because they are coming under different pretense.
That's not right.
And what Matt Schlapp is saying, well,
That's
we
right.
assume that they're all fugazi. That
No,
they're
Jim
not real
Jordan
asylum
said it was
seekers.
80% of them
See,
are not
Yeah, I
coming
know,
as
but I don't
political
know where that
asylums.
number lives.
Yeah, we
Until
don't.
Jim
we
Jordan's
know
an
it is
honest
fact.
guy.
We don't
Figure
know
it
where
out.
that
But Nina,
number
go ahead.
is.
What's your take
But
on it?
again, you know what? Listen, it's funny how Matt and the president, you want to blame President Obama. Any other time, President Trump would not be following President Obama. He needs to do the right thing. The Attorney General needs to do the right thing. And of course, the Congress needs to do the right thing. But
agree.
this is a matter of humanity at this point. That is simply
Why
my
wasn't it with
argument.
Obama?
And that is
Why
the
wasn't it
argument.
with
You
Obama?
know
But he
what?
didn't
People
enforce
did
it this way.
people
You're
did
ignoring that.
protest. People did protest President Obama. I'm not ignoring that. What I am saying to you is that President Trump is the president right now. And this does not have to be done. So again, what would Jesus do? He would be on the side of the poor and the downtrodden, not on the side of what's happening right now.
What about that
so
point?
why don't the president stand up to the Congress
the
and say,
Jesus
you know what,
point?
I don't want to
Yeah, what
separate
about that
families
point,
anymore.
I'd
Matt?
like
I
to
mean,
talk
I know,
to-
look, I respect your first answer, which is I'm a Christian, I don't deign what God, but Jeff Sessions didn't follow your edict
He didn't.
on that as
Neither
a Christian.
did Nina. Nina
And-
didn't either.
but-
I don't think either side should be saying Jesus is on their side. I think we should have a little humility here.
But the idea,
Well,
look, Jesus' message is
Read
pretty clear.
the Bible.
I do read the Bible.
The idea
was-
that if
Jesus
you were
would have
going
been
to
on the
err
side of
on
the
a
poor.
side of whether to be humane or inhumane,
Right.
you know, WWJD takes you to a pretty simple place. But what do you make of that as a tactic? The Attorney General saying God says that processes are good enough itself, and this is fair and just, and that's why we enforce the law.
I wouldn't have done that. I don't think that's the way to explain this in the beginning. I understand that many of these people live in desperate circumstances. I understand that America is a very unique country where a lot of people, especially our neighbors, want to come. I'd want to be here too if I wasn't here. We are a good and a generous and a tolerant and a decent people. And the fact is, at the same time, you have people who are waiting to come here legally. They're waiting to come here in line. They're filling out their paperwork. They're going to our embassy, and they're trying to come the right way as a political asylee. And that is the process that gets upturned. And those people are harmed as we allow people to cut in line. I'm not for line cutters. Let's have a process. I'm a pro-immigration Republican. I don't want to cut back on those numbers. I believe these people that are coming from Central America and Mexico and other countries can make America even better. And I want to make sure that the process is not disorderly like we have today, and I think it's a shame.
Well, but this is still disorderly because the separations are haphazard. They're losing track of kids.
It's
Nina
the law.
Turner, last
Chris,
point.
I mean,
but how they're
assuming-
enforcing it is their choice, and they're not doing a
That's
great
right.
job at it objectively. Nina, last point.
And they're assuming that the folks that are at the border right now somehow are not asylum seekers, somehow are not running from tragic situations. And that is a broad assumption. Again, I'm going back to how I started. Humanity is the order of the day, because that could be any of us trying to get here, trying to save our families. It is about humanity, and it is about justice, keeping these families together. The administration can fix this. President Trump can fix this. And absolutely the Congress needs to fix this. And stop blaming President Obama. Do the right thing. Do what Jesus would do, which is be on the side of the downtrodden and the poor and people who need help.
Nina Turner, Matt Schlapp, well argued, and thank you.